The Oxford Dictionary describes horror as an intense feeling of fear, shock, or disgust. And whether it's Large Marge in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, or the Ark being opened in Raiders of the Lost Ark, horror can spring up in all sorts of genres. Those moments that excite you and work as an entry point for the true world of horror. Today, we're looking at a film that checks all the boxes. Fear, shock, and even disgust. Because we're revisiting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and why it's the perfect entry into the world of horror.
Nice hearing from you, Carlos.
Leonardo, Raphael, Donatello, Michelangelo. Like most 90s kids, I had an unhealthy obsession with the Ninja Turtles. I watched it all the time and wanted to start karate lessons immediately. But what always stood out to me was the first live-action film. Sure, the other ones were decidedly more silly and filled with jokes.
Ninja pizza?
Pizza that vanished quickly without trace.
But there was something about this dark, gritty take on my beloved Turtles that I just couldn't turn away from. So now that I'm older and we have a whole new generation of Turtles fans, I thought it'd be interesting to spotlight the film in hopes of introducing this darker version to a new audience. Because boy, is it dark. The film itself released in 1990, but it still has that 80s grime to it, especially with its New York setting. And as much as the Turtles provide humor, we're also getting a look at a more grounded reality. Sure, Mikey may say a quip over pizza, but the next scene has April talking to her boss about police corruption. All while young Danny is stealing money right out of April's purse. It's no wonder so many of us turned out a little wonky when this was considered children's entertainment. While Turtles isn't exactly a horror movie, it's sure got some pretty darn horrific elements. And I'd say they work as the building blocks to making a good lover of the macabre. So let's get into why. Fear. There are many moments that could help to establish this one. The very beginning of the film shows New York City as this crime-riddled world. It's so bad that even someone who's reporting on the crimes is targeted for the mere mention. If that's not some kind of dystopian hellscape to be afraid of, then I'm not sure what is. The Foot Clan is built up of a bunch of young men, all led by Oroku Saki, aka Shredder. These scenes with Shredder are terrifying. Sure, it kind of looks like he's wearing a garbage bag as a cape, but those damn shoulder blades look so unbelievably badass. The demeanor of an entire room changes when he enters it. He's not someone that you want to meet in an alley, that's for sure, and I was scared to death of him as a kid. He shot in such an intimidating way that I couldn't help but be stunned, but also intrigued by his violent outbursts and desire for revenge. The seeds were definitely being planted.
Hey Mikey, did you ever think about what Splinter said tonight? I mean about what it would be like, you know, not having him?
But the most prevalent fear is one of loss. When Splinter is taken from them and Raphael is injured in battle, the Turtles retreat to the countryside with the help of April O'Neil and Casey Jones. You can feel the absolute sense of hopelessness as, for the first time in their lives, they don't have their master to guide them. They are just teenagers after all. And the one brother who was the most brash is paying the consequences for his actions. So how are the others supposed to be brave and carve a path of their own when even the most independent of them tried to and failed? The sense of absolute hopelessness and dread is something even the most tenured director would be jealous of. Yet this is a kids movie? Holy shit. No wonder I turned out so f***ed up. Shock. I'm sure for many parents, showing their kids this in the early 90s, shock was the primary element. And it's not exactly surprising. Sure, the original Laird and Eastman comics were dark as hell and featured some really messed up stuff. But this was mostly what they were known for at the time.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, heroes in a half shell, turtle power.
God, that song is a banger. Imagine taking your young child to the theater to see this, and suddenly this happens.
got any cigarettes?
Regular or menthol?
Hell, to be perfectly honest, when I was a kid, I thought he was holding playing cards. And shout out to Sam Rockwell in this very brief but memorable part. But a group of gang members bartering over the price of cigarettes was still pretty unreal. Hell, Disney puts whole warnings up before some of their streaming films if it features smoking. Oh, what a different time. A few scenes were as shocking as when Raphael bursts through the ceiling of April's apartment. Fire rages around them as Raphael is so beaten up that he has to be carried out. The strongest of the group is now the weakest. After seeing the Turtles handle the foot with no problem in the beginning, they're now retreating, unable to actually defend themselves. It's a moment of pure hopelessness. Plus, I'm sure there were few people expecting the Turtles to actually swear.
Damn!
Disgust. There's a certain griminess to the film that could probably fit well into this category. Everyone looks so sweaty, and the underlit shots add to the realism and dark aesthetic. But I still remember being absolutely gobsmacked when the Turtles finally defeated Shredder. This wasn't some fantastical explosion. This man simply fell multiple stories into a garbage truck and was then promptly crushed to death. Or, well, seemingly. And the sound design as the countless young members of the Foot Clan wait and see who the victor is in this battle, essentially determining their own fate as well. They get away with so much here. Look at this shot. What at a glimpse appears to be blood is simply the chipping away paint on the garbage truck. But with that layer of grime that's present on everything, it's easy to mistake the two. For years, I remember thinking that we got a streak of blood afterwards, a la the bad guy in Temple of Doom, but I just made that up in my head. And it's because I was so f***ing shocked as a child as to what was happening that my brain simply inferred the rest, combining elements from an entirely different film. Or maybe I just confused it with this part of Child's Play 3. Who's to say? What Turtles does best is being able to follow up these dark moments with ones of levity. Even the crushing of Shredder is treated so blasé, with Casey Jones and his "oops." It softens the blow, but those darker moments that preceded it are able to sit and stew within the minds of young and impressionable viewers. Heck, I know it did with me. That's why I thought that there was blood in the garbage truck, for God's sakes. This is the part of the video where I get to humble brag that I was fortunate enough to talk to Turtle co-creator Kevin Eastman when he was promoting Mutant Mayhem, but sadly I wasn't able to gush over this classic film, though I did score the sweet jacket out of the deal. Speaking of sweet merch,
before we continue with our video, here's a reminder to click the store tab on any of our JoBlo channels and browse our collection of the latest and freshest designs in our merch store. Go get you some.
sadly, this era of Turtles is forever behind us. And as much as I'd love to get a dark and gritty Turtles again, I just don't see that. Wait, what's that? No f***ing way. Well, I take that back. We're gonna get a dark and gritty version of the Turtles that hopefully rivals this. And hopefully in the same way that us fans of the original cartoon were able to embrace the dark and gritty live action version, hopefully fans of Mutant Mayhem feel the same. God knows we need as many entry points into the world of the dark and depraved as possible. And as much as I defend Secret of the Ooze and even get some dumb enjoyment out of Turtles 3, there's no denying that they're inferior films to the original. Those moments of silliness don't break the tension of something darker. It's just to add to more silliness. Watching the other films would make me more likely to check out a Looney Tunes cartoon versus something on the more depressing side. But after watching Raphael stew in a bathtub near death, or Splinter hung up like a piece of meat, I had a desire for something darker, something more intense. So since I wasn't getting it from other stuff marketed towards me, I sought it out on my own. And what did I find? That I was only getting started. Because I know Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles may seem like an odd gateway into the world of horror, the important thing is getting there at all, because it's certainly a special place to be. What say you? Do you think that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles can serve as an entry into horror? What unexpected horror-adjacent title would you consider a gateway film? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yes.